Hey everyone, this is Sean Yurtkuran. You've heard me on WYAB on the radio, and you can also catch me on the new Hulu series Death in the Dorm Season 2. I just wanted to introduce you all to my law firm, the Yurtkuran Law Firm. I'm located over in Fondren on Mill Street in Jackson, Mississippi. I've got over 18 years of law practice under my belt, including a decade as a felony prosecutor in Hinds County and at the Mississippi Attorney General's office. I spent all those years putting bad guys away. Now let me help keep you out. You can call me anytime at 601-906-9094 for a consultation, or just if you want to talk about something about your case. I'm committed to helping you navigate the complexities of the legal system, which I know can be difficult and confusing and downright scary at times. Let me help you use my experience to explain the system to you and how it works and how I can best help you. You can call me again at 601-906-9094 to discuss any of this and any of your worries. Trust me to handle your defense, where it is going to be my priority and your future will be my focus.
Boom, shakalaka boom. You've tuned in to the free-range human show of choice, your daily dose of reality radio. It starts right now. This is the Clay Edwards Show. I am Clay Edwards. I am, live on 103.9 FM, WYAB, pumping all across your airwaves on that very little spot on the dial right there, from Flora to Mendenhall, from Crystal Springs to the other side of Madison. Good morning to everybody. A little chilly this morning, man. It was 41 degrees on the little thermometer inside my car. I threw my windbreaker on and got in. And look, if you've ever spent more than about 5 minutes around me, you know I don't like it hot. I run the air in the winter and the summer, obviously. Anyway, I had my seat warmer on this morning. I had my heater on. My girlfriend would have actually enjoyed riding with me for once when it was cold outside, because I had the heat ginning this morning. Anyway, it'll be 150 before you know it. Guys, we got a big show today. It's going to be just me in here winging it. But at the top of the 8 o'clock hour, 8:07 a.m. to be exact, I'm going to have Jim Brown on with me. No relation. To discuss his son Andrew being banned by the MHSAA, the Mississippi High School Athletics Association, for having the audacity of wanting to be great and compete. They banned him. They can't make it make sense. They're ashamed and embarrassed of their actions, and they decided to anchor down and dig their heels in further. Lonnie Tillman and the people over there running the MHSAA, this is y'all's morning. 8:07. Be sure you're listening. We have some words for you. We're going to hold you accountable, and we expect a legitimate explanation as to why the fastest 1 mile runner in the state of Mississippi isn't being allowed to compete because he competed in an out-of-state event for the national championship, which you have to qualify for, by the way. But we'll get into all that. That's 8:07 a.m. on the all-new Mazda of Jackson phone line. That we'll have that interview there. Really looking forward to that one. Had a good conversation with him yesterday. They've been getting media requests all over the country, and they decided to go with us right here in Jackson, 103.9 FM, the Clay Edwards Show. Really excited about that. I wanted to jump into this True Social stuff and the $8 billion it's now worth. And we're going to. But every now and then, I see something that brings it right back home. Why I started this show. Why Save Jackson went from empty buildings and urban exploration to calling out the nonsense that I see. Every now and then you see something that just makes you so angry that it overtakes you. And this morning I saw that. One of my friends, Thomas, sent me a screenshot of a post on Facebook from the University of Mississippi Medical Center. Guys, if you're listening right now and you have ever lost someone battling breast cancer, stood beside someone as they fought while battling breast cancer, or you yourself fought breast cancer, or are battling breast cancer. Did you know that it disproportionately affects black women more because of redlining and racism, infrastructural racism? I didn't know that. I didn't know that infrastructural racisms cause breast cancer. Redlining. Not being able to vote your way out of a Republican district. That somehow causes redlining. Breast cancer. Here, anyway. This is a post on the University of Mississippi Medical Center's Facebook page. The audacity of these people. A new study suggests that black women living in historically redlined neighborhoods are more likely to be diagnosed with aggressive forms of breast cancer and are at a higher risk of dying from the disease. The study, published in JAMA Network Open, whatever that is, highlights the negative effects of historical and persistent structural racism. It says learn more about the research and findings here at this link. So we're going to click on that link here. This is on the UMC website. So this is by Andrea Wright Dilworth. If you want to reach out to Andrea, her email is awdilworth, awdilworth at umc.edu. I will share the link on my Facebook page when I get done here. Black women who live in historically redlined communities are more likely to be diagnosed with estrogen receptor negative breast cancer, an aggressive subtype of the cancer. While white women are at an increased risk of late stage diagnosis, black women are also more likely to die from the disease regardless of where they lived. Okay, see, now I can live with that. I can live with regardless of where they lived. Because, that's how cancer works. Continuing. Those were three key findings of the study: historical redlining, persistent mortgage discrimination, and race in breast cancer outcomes, published in the February JAMA Network Open. Dr. Jasmine Miller Kleinhens, assistant professor of population health science in the John D. Bauer School of Population Health, had always wondered why black women are more likely to develop aggressive forms of breast cancer. Since no other study had looked at the effects of the persistent mortgage discrimination, areas that are historically and contemporarily redlined, they're blaming this on politics. On breast cancer outcomes, she conducted her own. She couldn't find a study, so she conducted her own. Roughly 240,000 cases of breast cancer are diagnosed in women, and 2,100 in men each year, according to the Center for Disease Control and Prevention. Annually, about 42,000 women and 500 men die year from, that don't make any sense, die year over year from the disease. Black women dying at the highest rate. Redlining so this is what redlining is. Redlining is a discriminatory mortgage practice that used race as a central factor in determining creditworthiness. Though outlawed in the 1960s, mortgage discrimination is still an ongoing practice. No, it's not. It is a good time to be black and want a mortgage. Discrimination is not still going on. They have rewritten the rules for minorities to get a mortgage. You think it's hard to be a minority and get a mortgage? Try being a white guy with average credit. The primary takeaways are that living in a historically redlined area is associated with poor outcomes that differ by race, she said. Black women had an increased risk more than 3 times that of white women, no matter where they lived. I can live with that. Maybe it's just something genetically, like sickle cell. I don't know. I'm not trying to make a joke about it either. Genetically, we are slightly different. Some things we're more susceptible to things than others. I can live with that. It ain't because of where you live. It ain't because of redlining. It ain't because of none of that. And I just keep going back to this. I'm not going to bore y'all reading this whole thing. You can go read it yourself. I'll share the link on Facebook during the break. It's an insult to anybody, as I previously said, that knows anybody or has fought or died from cancer themselves. So, I guess my aunt, she didn't live in a redlined area. I guess she should just be grateful that she had to have a double, removal. Because, God, if she lived in a redlined area, maybe it would have been worse. This is so insulting. I just think, let's use Jackson as an example here. Jackson ain't redlined. It's blue-lined. What are the results like in Jackson? This stuff is it's too stupid to be stupid in there. And this is why I get up and fight every day. Because I refuse to leave this world knowing that it's being left in way worse condition for our children than it was to us. And knowing I didn't do anything about it. Knowing that I just sat there, kept my mouth shut, went along to get along. And said, man, that don't seem right, but I don't want to rock the boat. I don't want to say anything. That will never, ever be what Clay Edwards does. I made a promise to myself 3 or 4 years ago, whatever it was, during COVID, when I snapped and started doing all this, that I would not run from any controversial topics that were true. Or were blatant lies, however you want to look at that. This is a blatant lie. This is another diversity, equity, and inclusion lie. And people will believe it, and they'll get some federal grant money for it, and they'll move black women to the front of the line, and nobody will say anything. I will. Will you? You got to start standing up to this nonsense. And this isn't some national story from Boston or somewhere. This is right here in Jackson, Mississippi, downtown, where a lot of you guys work. For the extremely, extremely racist UMC. Disgusting. Let's read a text or two on the Guns and Gear text line this morning. My cousin Kitty says, don't be so quick to put her on blast because 100%, I 100% believe that article to be truth. It's in a very recognized and truthful medical journal. And I will say this, if women could learn how to let go of their stress instead of hanging on to systemic racism, the prevalence of their cancers wouldn't be so high. Just my thoughts. I don't care how respected the medical journal is. When you use the words structural racism and redlined, you lose me. When we're talking about medical, you want to talk about finances on the redlining, mortgage discrimination, Sure, whatever. Not in my lifetime, but we're talking about your grandparents, something like that. Okay, cool. And closing, her last text said, "Cancer is genetic." It kind of nulls and voids the previous text. Let's see here. Guns and Gear text. Had to hit the reload button. Somebody asked, "What is redlining?" Yeah, I had to Google it. I'm not going to get into it right now. Blake, how does all of America not see a problem with this? They are making cancer a political issue, and it's not. It's cancer. Who cares about race? Why don't you just go find a cure instead of doing this BS? Unknown texter, is everything racist? Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, everything, in fact, is racist. Or if it ain't, it's going to be. They're just chipping away down everything. I didn't know that breast cancer was, in fact, racist, too. Let's take a break, come back. The Guns and Gear text line, 769-241-1944. 769-241-1944. Mazda of Jackson phone line. 601-879-0002. 601-879-0002. We'll be right back on The Clay Edwards Show. Welcome back into The Clay Edwards Show. This segment brought to you by Acme Pizza and Daiquiris. Fan and Mart on the res, open daily, 4 p.m. to midnight. Man, look, I live in downtown Brandon. After about 9 o'clock, there ain't nothing to eat, which is probably best for my figure. But you live over there on 047 on the res, you got Acme Pizza and Daiquiris open till midnight, 7 nights a week. Get you that late night hunger pains hit, boom. Hit up Acme Pizza and Daiquiris. You can get the pizza and the daiquiris to go or delivered. I'm not sure how late the delivery works, but you can dang sure pick it up. 12 different specialty pizzas, including the pig, or build your own. Or, of course, you can always do the Wheel of Flavor. Try up to 3 of the specialty pizzas on the one pie, and maybe you'll find a new pizza that you didn't know you liked. I'm like trying to teach an old dog new tricks. I like what I like, just enough to not try anything new. But if you're unlike me, try the Wheel of Flavor, and maybe you'll find the new one you do like. You can always try their pasta, their appetizers, their burgers, their loaded fries. And, of course, they got live entertainment every Friday and Saturday night. Friday nights is like a acoustic guitar type guy in the corner on the stage there. And then Saturday nights after 9, once all the families have gone, they turn it into like a little throwback retro nightclub. And they have a lot of DJs playing retro music from the 80s, 90s, early 2000s. Really good time for you old 40-plus-year-olds. You know, bass heads, not the bad kind of bass head, music kind. Check them out, man. Acme Pizza and Daiquiris. All right, let's go to the text machine real quick. Unknown texter says, the truly sad thing is there probably is some type of cure for cancer out there. As sick as it sounds, is cancer too big of a money maker to cure? You have to question everything these days. I personally, I agree. The money, there's entire segments of the medical community. It's an industry. You know, we talk about the military industrial complex. There's the cancer industrial complex. I mean, we've been working for a cure on this thing for a long time. And look, I haven't personally been through it. So I want to be careful about what I say here. But everybody I talk to that has the worst of the worst has to basically get nuked by radiation down at the cancer center there in Texas is so good. We're doing all this research, investing all this money, and the best we can still do is have to nuke somebody with radiation to try to cure them. Now, there may be some other type of treatments. Again, I don't know. I don't want to speak on something that I don't personally know a whole lot about. No, never went through it shoulder to shoulder with somebody. Hope to never have to. But there's a lot of money and a lot of big business. And this ain't just cancer. This is everything out there. When was the last time we had a cure for something? Everything now is a treatment. It's like, I know y'all probably get tired of me taking everything back to Jackson, Mississippi. The people that run Jackson, they don't want a cure for their problems. Because there is one for it. Shock and awe. They want it to be just messed up enough all the time that the water faucet of federal money and grants keeps dripping. The money is in the medicine, not the cure. I believe it could be in the cure. If you start curing things, you start exploring more things. What do I know? Let's read a couple texts here real quick. The jab for COVID, somebody said. Yeah, that's another great example. You mean, these fools ain't cured the common cold. But they keep giving you a shot for, well, let's use flu as an example. We can't cure the flu. We can't wipe the flu off the face of Earth. Unknown texter. It's sad to know that people are okay with making billions of dollars in greed just to see people suffer and die. We have the cures. They just don't want to lose out on the money. Mansplain says, I feel the same way about diabetes. The treatment for diabetes hasn't changed much since the 70s. It is a huge moneymaker for the medical establishment. Unknown texter on the Guns and Gear text line. Several years ago, there was a little short article on Daily Mail about a scientist who had created a cure for cancer using nothing but jalapeno seeds. He died a week later in a car wreck. You know, there's other stuff similar to that, too, about people who have created alternate electrical sources that didn't require being on the grid. Like, nope, you got to die. Like at the Oprah Winfrey show, you get to die, and you get to die, and you get to die. Let's take a call here.
Get to die, and you.
Turn your radio down. I'm doing good. How are you?
I can't complain. Listen, talking about cure for cancer.
Yes.
Look into vitamins. A lot of people. It's this one guy. He advertises on radio, and he sells vitamins all the time. From Dr. Walker or something like that. And he had a place in Brandon one time. Somebody opened it up, and he could cure a lot of stuff with just vitamins. He knew how to do all that stuff. So you need to look at. I'm not an expert on all this stuff, but I take a lot of vitamins. But you can look at what you get, and you go look at vitamins and start taking the right vitamins, and I believe it'll help you.
Well, look, vitamins are definitely good for you. I appreciate you, brother. Thank you for listening this morning.
Okay.
You know, I want to be real clear here. I'm not saying there's some home remedy for cancer. I believe that so much money is raised every year through the American Cancer Society, Susan G. Komen, all these other things. it is an industrial complex, and I don't mind partaking in the raising the money. I've done the Real Men Wear Pink thing. I'm trying to help raise some money for them again this year. I want to believe that money is going to actually finding a cure, not a treatment. I guess a treatment would be okay too if it keeps you alive. It keeps you alive, but you know what I'm saying here. I don't want to belittle people who are actually doing the Lord's work. We have some interesting texts. I want to read these. Jerry says, this segment not brought to you by Pfizer. Julio Juarez was the jalapeno farmer. Pfizer bought the land, and unfortunately he got planted there. Very interesting. Very interesting. Bubba says, COVID vaccines cure cancer according to old Uncle Joe in his State of the Union. That is correct. Joe Biden said that COVID vaccines are the cure to cancer. And wouldn't it be funny that if that's true, but Joe wasn't supposed to say it? I think they cause cancer is what he meant to say, because there's a huge spike in, and maybe that's really what he was trying to say, there's been a huge spike in cancer in young adults over the last couple of years. What got implemented what got put into the system? What did everybody run out head over heels to willingly or unwillingly get shoved in their bodies? What could it be? Oh, that's right, the COVID vaccine. And I bet you the ones that got the booster after the booster after the booster, I bet those are the ones that are negatively affected the most. Talk about disproportionately affected. I bet you it's the ones that got that jab are disproportionately affected. I'm going to run over here, but I'm going to go 2 more minutes to 7:40. Oh yeah, Jerry, I know that was a joke about him being buried there. I got it. Unknown texture says the cure is to starve the cancer, no sugar, all alkaline diet. There's a lot of stuff to back that up. It really is. I mean, I don't believe in all the hokey home remedy, all natural stuff. I just don't. Because I've watched people try it and die when they could have got real, seeked real help. But some of it does work. Unknown texture here. Problem is, there's so many vitamins, and the average Joe, you really don't know what to take. I'm going to read this, and we're going to take a break. Unknown texture here. It says, several years ago, there was a little short article. Okay, we already read that part. It says, the color is talking about longevity. The caller is talking about longevity. Okay, got it. Must be doing voice to text here. Susan J. Coleman is 5% towards research. The rest goes to celebrity endorsements and stuff like that. All right. We obviously have stumbled onto a topic that a lot of people got some thoughts on. I always ride the hot hand. So when we come back, we will continue to read some of your texts and talk about this stuff. I do want to get to True Social being worth $8 billion, and the Democrats are losing their minds in the mainstream media. It's a meme stock. Well, maybe it is. Like I said, conservatives are treating True Social and doing the same thing they did with GameStop and AMC. It's very interesting to watch. We'll be right back. Welcome back in to the Clay Edwards Show here on WYAB. As always, great being here on the radio this morning. A1 Gear and Auto for all your automotive repair needs. Man, go see Justin and the team down there. I'm just overwhelmed at the amount of support that this show and this station are receiving from locally owned businesses that are getting they're starting to understand what we've got brewing here at WYAB. That we've got an audience that gets out and supports these sponsors. Justin, I was down there last week dropping off some stickers, minding my own business, sitting in a chair, and there's a fella at the counter and says, "Man, I just want y'all to know I came down here because I heard y'all on the Clay Edwards show." Almost started crying. He didn't know who I was. And that's just, I want to extend that thank you to this audience. You've helped us fight cancel culture, and you've helped us be able to get up here and have these tough conversations every day. I didn't mean to turn my A1 Gear and Auto live read into a personal thank you, but that's how life goes. But get down there, support them, man, whether it's your check engine light, heater not working, air conditioner not working, any of that type stuff, brakes, they got you covered. But what they specialize in is your ring and pinion. And down here in Mississippi, we love our four-wheel drives. We love our off-road, our hunting, all that stuff. We love pulling trailers. We use our trucks to work down here in the dirty. Inevitably, you're going to mess it up. You're going to have some ring and pinion issues at some point. Or we love to jack our trucks up, put the big wheels and tires on it. That's hard on your powertrain, especially if you haven't upgraded your gears. So when or if you end up with some ring and pinion issues, the number one place, the industry leader right here in Central Mississippi, whether it's your Jeep, your truck, whatever, is A1 Gear and Auto, Highway 49 South in Florence, Mississippi. If you're going south on 49, right after you get through Richland, right as you enter Florence, look to your right, going to be a big white building, big red sign. You can't miss them. A1 Gear and Auto, owned by a true patriot, a guy that puts his money where his mouth is. So just know you're supporting one of your own when you support A1 Gear and Auto. And you're getting the best work done. That's a win-win, right? All right. I thought about shifting gears during the break, but we got some really good text on here on this topic that I think are worth reading. So I want to read this. My buddy Lane on the Guns and Gear text line says, "My daughter was diagnosed with stage 4 lymphoma. Thanks to Trump allowing veterans to use any hospital, she was treated with a stem cell program, and after a long fight during COVID, she is still cancer-free." That's amazing. God is great. Stem cell, ever since I heard about stem cell going back to George W. Bush's presidency, when I started, kind of understanding a little bit more about stem cell research, I was like, this is going to be the next thing. This is going to be what helps fight and battle diseases and recovery from injury, paralyzing injuries, is stem cell research. And we've been very hesitant in America to really wrap our arms around it. A lot of people have to go out of the country to get stem cell research done. Stem cell replacement, I'm sorry. The way it was sold to Republicans by W was it has something to do with the fetuses of aborted children. I'm not a specialist in this stuff. I just know what I remember hearing. And that's terrible. But if people are going to insist upon having abortions, if something positive can be used with those, this is a terrible conversation to be having. Y'all know what I'm saying. If it has to happen, something good might as well come out of it. And if that's stem cell recovery, stem cell treatment to help save another life, then I don't know. I'd rather something good than nothing, right? But that's how it was sold to Republicans. But I wonder now if the resistance for stem cell has been the cancer industrial complex, or frankly, the medical industrial complex that doesn't want cures, they want treatments for diseases. I wonder if it's been their lobby that has been so resistant to stem cell, or if that's why we're so resistant to allowing stem cell treatment in America. Just a thought. I'm just a dumb guy on the radio. 10th grade education, GED, 2 years at Hines Community College. I do not know. I know how to ask questions. I got a lot of common sense. I got a lot of street knowledge. But I've got a Facebook legal degree, and I'm also a COVID vaccine expert. And got the #1 morning show in Jackson, Mississippi. The text line number, the Guns and Gear text line, is 769-241-1944. And hey, just guys, if we're friends on Facebook, or you know my cell phone number, or Twitter, or any of that, you don't have to actually text the text line. I'm just going to call your text the Guns and Gear text. You can, any way you contact me by text messages in the mornings, I just call it the Guns and Gear text line. Love Guns and Gear. Those guys have been supportive now for going on a year. They've been on this show. Now, they've been longer than that. Anyway, Hunter and the team out there at Guns and Gear, they have been so supportive of this. So any form of digital communication that comes in, it's not a phone call, I call it Guns and Gear text. So if you know my number, if you know me, if we're friends on Facebook, whatever, I get all those notifications throughout the show. So speaking of that, my buddy that just asked the number says, the cure for cancer is prevention. Prevention is nutrition. Eat your food like medicine, or you will take medicine like food. Ignorance is no excuse. Research takes a minute. Spend the effort retraining your understanding about diet. It could save your life. No, man, I've watched a lot of documentaries about health. When I decided to lose that weight a couple years ago and do the keto carnivore stuff and the fasting stuff, the fasting was a huge part of why I was able to lose that weight. I need to be doing it again, not enjoying good pizza and cold beer. Getting comfortable in a relationship will have that effect on you. There's a lot of data out there that talks about the fasting and ridding your body of those toxins and all that, and then being very careful about what you put back in your body. A lot of that can prevent cancer, and I mean, at least according to the research and documentaries. But I've tried to be careful about believing all that stuff, because the people who make those documentaries typically have an agenda to push, or they're being paid to make them. So, I do believe you should trust your doctors about everything but the COVID vaccine. Not everything, but the overwhelming majority. Just not the COVID vaccine. They were overwhelmingly paid or persuaded to shove that down everybody's throats. Let's take our last break of the first hour, come back, land the plane, and then top of hour 2, we got a big interview on the Mazda of Jackson phone line. Y'all stay tuned. Welcome back into the Clay Edwards Show. Coming up here at the top of hour 2, 8:07 a.m., we're going to have Jim Brown on the Mazda of Jackson phone line. His son, Andrew, is the one who got suspended for the year. Well, not just from school, but from competition for the year by the MHSAA for having the audacity to want to be the best, for having the audacity to want to beat the best in a out-of-state indoor running competition that we don't even offer in Mississippi. It's an insult. It's an insult to all of us. Brain drain is real. And Mississippi loves to promote our kids leaving the state by not allowing them to compete. It's an embarrassment. The MHSAA is a joke. And we're going to talk about it here on the other side of this. I thank you for all the text messages this morning. They were phenomenal. Obviously, this is a subject that we could talk about all day, but we're going to shift gears. This is the Clay Edwards Show. We'll be right back. Boom goes the dynamite. We're back. It's hour 2 of the Clay Edwards Show here on 103.9 FM WYAB. This segment brought to you by our friends at Martin's Downtown. Hey, Jackson, coming up. What day do I see here? I just had the date. April 5th. April 5th. Big trip with special guest Angelo live at Martin's Downtown. You can get tickets now at Martin's Downtown, jxn.com for that and all of their upcoming events. If you're in the mood for lunch, and why wouldn't you be in the mood for lunch? Get down to Martin's today. Today's Blue Plate Special. Today is Thursday. It is pot roast. I've had the pot roast at Martin's. It is phenomenal, along with everything on the menu. And I'm serious. If they quit sponsoring this show tomorrow, I would still be in there eating twice a week. That's why I can't go on a diet again right now. I'm addicted to Martin's Country Fried Steak. Make it stop, Jesus. Make it stop. Anyway, I'm kidding. Don't forget, they got a new location coming soon to the former Gathering location out there at Livingston. For all of you Madison County folks, y'all got a Martin's coming your direction. So exciting. After 70-plus years downtown, they're opening their second location. How cool. Get down there today. Open every day, 11 a.m. to 2 a.m. All your favorite sports, all your March Madness games on. The patio is wide open, covered, fans under it, TV, huge patio. Get out there, enjoy the games while sitting outside in this beautiful weather. And you know, it's a little chilly in the mornings, but you know it feels great in the afternoons. All right, that's Martin's Downtown, jxn.com for more information, or follow them on Facebook. Same thing, Martin's Downtown, JXN. All right. On the Mazda of Jackson phone line here, I have Mr. Jim Brown from up in Tupelo, Mississippi. Jim, good morning, brother.
Good morning, Clay.
Look, I do really, truly appreciate you agreeing to do this interview with us down here in Jackson this morning. And based on the online reaction that I got from this story, I know people are going to be left angry and mystified as I was. Just quick little backstory. Jim's son, Andrew, is a cross-country runner is it Tupelo High School?
That's correct, yes.
At Tupelo High School, and he has been suspended for this upcoming competition year by the MHSAA for competing in an out-of-state event that was the national championship, the New Balance National Championships. Have I got that right?
Yes, New Balance Indoor National Championship in Boston, Massachusetts, earlier this month.
Which he won that last year, right? Is that what it is?
He actually won a national competition last year in Virginia Beach.
Okay.
It was the Adidas Indoor National Championship for middle schoolers then. As an 8th grader, he won the mile and the 3K last March.
So what I'm going to do here, I just kind of wanted to set that out for you. I'm going to pass you the baton here, so to say, and let you kind of pick up and explain to people what happened.
Yes, so Andrew competed at New Balance Nationals on the 10th of March. Well, we left on that Friday, which would have been the 8th. The day before we left for Boston, and notice here, I already had booked my flights. We had booked our hotel, paid for his race entry. We were notified the night before by our athletic director that MHSAA had threatened to impose a 1-year probation on Tupelo's program, their track program, and suspend Andrew a full calendar year if he ran in this event, and they claimed that he was in violation of some obscure rule, which, by the way, has never been applied to a student athlete in Mississippi ever. In fact, Andrew is the first athlete in the state of Mississippi that's ever been punished for a so-called violation of this nebulous rule that they have. So he went ahead and he ran the race. He knew what the MHSAA was threatening, but the thing with this, there's so many different problems with it, but we've seen countless schools run at New Balance National indoors or meet similar, and none of these student athletes received any repercussions. And I know many states that allow their student athletes to compete in outdoor track meets in the lead up to these national level competitions because they're so late, and those student athletes can't control that. So they were saying he violated a rule that said you can't compete in an event like this after outdoor season has already opened, has already commenced. But there's absolutely zero competitive advantage in competing in an indoor meet after outdoor season has started. And in fact, most coaches would argue that it's actually a disadvantage because you miss one, if not two, outdoor meets because of it. But it's just it's shocking that they would make an issue of this and decide to hold back a skilled athlete and take away his opportunity here. They're punishing a student athlete for an opportunity that really provides positive recognition for the state, but instead they've chosen to try to hold him back. And really, Clay, this is no different than a player playing AAU in basketball or golfers playing in other tournaments. Like I know they have that Randy Watkins Jr. tournament in October, or like baseball players playing in a fall or a winter league. It makes no sense.
No, that's what really grinded my gears about this thing is it's out of state. They should have zero sanctioning restrictions for anything out of state, and and Mississippi does not offer an indoor running season, correct? So that's right. Technically, this is a sport that isn't. I know it's from the same vein, track and field, but this is a sport or a style of sport that is not even sanctioned in Mississippi.
Yeah, and that's such a good point. So the majority of coaches and even attorneys that I consulted on this, I should say all of them, said that this was absolutely a ridiculous rule, but also a ridiculous application of the rule that they have, because Mississippi does not even offer indoor track. We don't even have an indoor track in Mississippi. It's not an official sport. Actually, years ago, it used to be. There was, I think, a 175-meter indoor track in Jackson, but kids don't get a class credit for it in cross country, and in track they get a class credit for it. But there is nothing officially even in the Mississippi High School Association handbook that says, hey, indoor season officially starts here and ends here. It's really just ridiculous on so many fronts. I don't really know where to begin. When people start asking about this, there are so many ridiculous aspects of this that you could spend all day discussing it. But at the end of the day, Clay, you and I know that the MHSAA could just unilaterally decide, hey, you know what? We're going to have common sense here. We're going to allow our athletes opportunities like this that can help improve recognition in the state, provide positive experiences for them. In fact, I was looking through the MHSAA, their mission statement. This is their mission statement, Clay. It says, the MHSAA will provide participation and sportsmanship to develop good citizens through interscholastic activities which provide equitable opportunities, positive recognition, and learning experiences to students while maximizing the achievement of educational goals. Now, if they can tell me that they were, in this case, maximizing the achievement of Andrew's goals and providing equitable opportunities and positive recognition here, then their stance could be justified. But I think we all know what's going on here.
So this rule, there's that word, equitable. That's their favorite buzzword nowadays. But
right,
this was birthed. Was it from when Callaway had a chance to play at Madison Square Garden in the national tournament, Callaway High School?
Yeah, that is something that a coach had told me was his understanding of why this was originally put into place. And this application here with Andrew running in an indoor track meet, I frankly don't know how this all came about with why they decided to penalize him. But yeah, I'd heard that about the Callaway basketball program that they've competed in an event. I think it was at Madison Square Garden. I think it was like sponsored by Dick's Sporting Goods. It was a national competition, and they essentially told Callaway, hey, you compete in this, we're going to vacate your state championship. So I don't know how that grows the sport of basketball in Mississippi. I don't know how this grows the sport of track in Mississippi. And I really want this sport to grow in Mississippi. But I think in this instance, we're really moving backwards.
I think it does. This is bringing the story is bringing a negative light on it, because you're telling kids that we don't want you to get too big for your britches. We don't want you to bring positive attention to Mississippi. I have no earthly idea. And didn't you say, or that someone had said, that this was basically put in place to it was something to the extent of, we don't want Mississippi athletes competing outside of Mississippi?
Yes, so that was actually Lonnie Tillman, who is the track director with MHSAA. He was the one that notified Tupelo that there would be punishment if Andrew ran. He's the one that's been handling this case. He was quoted in a local Tupelo newspaper as saying the reason for this rule is we don't want athletes competing outside of the state of Mississippi. So the question that I would have, how is that advancing the sport? So we all know that nowadays in these sports, high-level sports, coaches are at national events. That's where you're noticed. That's where college coaches are going to be, and that's where the best competition is going to be, is when you compete on the state level and show yourself to be head and shoulders above the rest. You want to go compete with your peers across the country. And just to give you an example of that, the race that Andrew ran in on the 10th, the young man that won the mile ran a 4 flat, just 4 even, incredible time. Yeah. The night before, on that very same track in Boston, the NCAA Indoor National Championships were contested, and the person who won the college race ran a 4:01, guy from University of Washington. Just think about that. The high school contest on that Sunday had an even faster finish than the NCAA Indoor Championship the night before.
And then you have all those coaching and staff from the best of the best schools laying over to watch the junior to see who they want to offer scholarships to.
Yeah, exactly. And I want to point out too, in this event, and I think I mentioned to you as well, Andrew was not paid to run in this event, and he was not running against professional athletes. There were no professional pacers or anything like that. He was competing against high school athletes from all across the country, 49 other states. And by the way, no other states are taking this draconian punitive action against their runners for competing in a national event. We're talking about one race here too. You know, it's just incredible that we're even having this discussion today, Clay.
I know. I completely understand. Why would we not want to bring positive attention onto our athletes here on a national stage? It's mind-boggling to me. It's the same, and I told you this yesterday, it's the same reason the state suffers from the brain drain that it does, and that as soon as people get an opportunity to leave Mississippi, they do. And it's frankly, it's embarrassing. Do you have time to do another segment?
Yes, I do, because there is another step in this process. We're actually going to appeal this this decision by MHSAA, and that's going to be coming up. And I really think your audience, you've got a fantastic audience. I think they could really put some heat on the MHSAA and encourage them to do the right thing here. And let's end this embarrassment of Mississippi right now in this case.
All right, well, Jim, stay on hold, and we'll be right back. This is the Clay Edwards Show. On the Mazda Jackson phone line, we have Jim Brown discussing the travesty that has happened to his son, one of our brightest, fastest, and best young athletes, Andrew. Shame on the MHSAA. We'll be right back with more on the Clay Edwards Show. Welcome back into the Clay. Turn that up a little bit loud there. I apologize. Welcome back into the Clay Edwards Show. This segment going to be brought to you by our friends over at Men's Health of Mississippi. Guys, and frankly, girls too, are you suffering from fatigue, decreased muscle tone, inability to gain new muscle, lack of energy, low libido, brain fog, and sleep disturbances, lack of motivation? You may be suffering from low testosterone, and Men's Health of Mississippi, they also have a women's clinic upstairs, are offering free testosterone screenings right now. If you'll text Clay, all caps, Clay, to 601-327-8550. 601-327-8550. You will get an appointment. They will contact you. You'll get an appointment, and you're going to go in and get a free testosterone screening. No commitment required. What's the worst that can happen? You find out you're in good shape, or you find out your testosterone's good, or you find out it's not, and you experienced a year like I've experienced this last year. It's been life-changing. You have nothing to lose. 601-327-8550. Just text my name, all caps, Clay, and they'll be in touch. All right, let's get back to the Mazda of Jackson phone line here. We've got Jim Brown, father of Andrew, on the phone. Jim, you there?
Yes, I am. I'm still with you.
Okay, so look, I've gotten a couple texts on my text line as people have said, it was if they warned you ahead of time that this would be the repercussions for running, why would you still do it? And I mean, I know the answer, but I want to let you.
No, that's actually a really good and legitimate question. So we were notified last minute right before we were heading out, but I let Andrew make that decision. He knew what the potential ramifications were, but I want to point out real quick that I was not about to take away a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for Andrew just because of a threat from the MHSAA. And as I pointed out, countless schools and individuals have run at these events for years without any problem whatsoever. And if this is a hill to die on for the MHSAA and they want to make this faulty application of this rule, it needs to be opposed. It needs to be fought. If there's going to be change, if there's going to be reform in how they're treating the student athletes here in the state of Mississippi, someone's got to stand up against the old boys club. And the way they are operating right now, they're 2 decades behind the sport. But we have received a groundswell of support from rival teams, from coaches that we don't even know, college coaches, lots of people from the running community around the U.S. have reached out and said, hey, what can we do to support? What can we do to help? And so we felt this is something definitely worthy of fighting against. And I've had just at this past weekend at our home track meet that Andrew was not able to run in, had several rival coaches that said, this is unjust. We want to fight this to get this changed. So that's how change is enacted. And we're just hoping that the Mississippi High School Athletic Association will listen to what their coaches and student athletes want and just make some common sense changes here. We're actually going to be appealing this determination on Andrew. We're going to have a hearing on April 4th at the MHSAA headquarters at 11:30. And am I optimistic about it? I'm not optimistic given what the MHSAA has done in the past, but we need to see this through, and the truth needs to come to light. We just want to put the facts out there for people to see, and the most important thing here is we're trying to not just protect Andrew and provide opportunities for him, but we're trying to protect all the athletes in Mississippi who are looking for these kind of high-level opportunities to showcase their talent and to improve their visibility. So this is a fight worth having in our estimation. And also, Clay, I mentioned this to you yesterday, and I firmly believe it. Andrew doesn't need the MHSAA to have a successful running career. But we need to fight against injustices like this where a state association is holding back some of our best athletes by imposing these kinds of ridiculous punishments.
Well, this was also an individual competition, not a team competition of any sort, correct?
Yeah, the one that he was in was an individual. That's correct.
So this is the equivalent. Because I want to paint this picture for people who may not 100% understand how these two things are not related. How running outdoor track in Mississippi is unrelated to running a indoor track meet in Massachusetts. This would be like your son, who's a baseball player, competing in a home run competition one weekend sanctioned by somebody else, or even out of state, and then being punished for competing in that home run hitting competition. That's about a parallel I can draw, and we're getting a lot of great feedback from people. I want to read a text to you real quick because people are ready to get up and support you, and that's what I want to lead to is how they can do that. Here's a great text. It says, why is this being picked apart by the MHSAA and discriminated against for some reason? Someone complained because many of us have kids that play soccer, baseball for the high schools, and also tournament ball where they compete year-round all over the world. Nothing has ever been said. I'll write an email to whoever or whatever I can do to help get this ball rolling on down the field, so to say. So people are ready to stand up and support you. How can they do that?
Well, I think contacting the MHSAA directly would be the best way. And the gentleman that is over track and field for MHSAA, their director is Lonnie Tillman. And so his email address is ltillman, Tillman, at MISSHSAA.com, ltillman at MISSHSAA.com. Also, his direct line, and I think it'd be good if people hear if people reach out and give him their take on this. Tell them they're frustrated with the State Athletic Association holding athletes back. His number is 601-926-4513. That's 601-926-4513. That's the best way to get in contact. He's the one that's made this decision.
All right. Look, man, we're going to follow up on this. You said the meeting is April 4th, the hearing?
That's right. Yeah, April 4th at 11:30. It will be at the MHSAA headquarters. I've had a local
Clinton,
attorney
right?
that had sent them a notice that we were going to file a petition for his reinstatement. Now, we are not allowed to, our attorney is not allowed to speak at the hearing. That's something that I only am allowed to do. So I'll reiterate a lot of things that I've shared with you and your audience today when I speak to the MHSAA, but we're hoping they do the right thing. And, time is of the essence on this because the postseason regional track meets for the postseason start the 18th. So we have a fear that even if the MHSAA did rule in our favor, that they would slow walk the process and just let the clock run out, and that would be an even bigger travesty too. So we really would love for common sense to prevail here, and I think people across the state and outside the state are speaking out about this, but I don't think you can speak out about it too much. They need to hear how ridiculous this decision is, and like I said earlier, they could decide just to put this aside and ditch their punishment of Andrew and not even go through the appeal process. But if they want to continue with the negative publicity, I guess that's what's going to happen. So I frankly don't understand it all. I'm still saying the burden is on them to prove how this harmed anybody in the state of Mississippi. How is this creating, an unfair advantage for anybody in Mississippi? They can't show that.
Well, like I told you on the phone yesterday, this has been one of the few things that I've been able to talk about and post on my social and on this show that seems to be 100%. Everybody, we finally have agreed on something. I'm getting a lot of great text messages here. People are sending me screenshots of Lonnie Tillman's contact information. They're already Googling it and finding it, and we're going to do our part. And we're going to pray and let the Lord do His, and we're going to stay on top of this because people may be saying, "Well, Clay, Jim, how does this affect me?" Well, it may not affect you today, but maybe it's something that affects you tomorrow. So that's why you got to fight for it today. It's why I fight against them banning everything they can under the sun down at the Capitol, because it may not be something that affects me today. It may be something that affects me tomorrow. Mr. Brown, thank you so much for taking the time this morning, and again, give Andrew our best wishes. Let him know we're fighting for him, and we're going to stay on top of this.
Thank you so much, Clay, for your advocacy and for exposing this.
Absolutely, brother. Have a blessed day. Thank you.
You too. Thank you.
Yep. A lot of text I got during that. That was Jim Brown on the Mazda Jackson phone line there. What a cool name, Jim Brown. That's a great name to have. One of the texts I got that people kept talking about was, how embarrassing for the people that snitched on this kid. And there's some rumors about who it was. I don't want to get into the rumor game, but why would you not want to compete against the best? Because if now you snitched on this kid, and karma's probably going to get you anyway. You ain't going to be the one to win if you snitched on this kid. It's going to be somebody else. You're going to lose anyway. But let's just pretend you didn't. Like Ric Flair says, to be the man, you got to beat the man. Woo! If you don't beat the man, you ain't the man. There's going to be an asterisk by your championship. If I played in the NFL, I want to beat Tom Brady, or I want to beat the Patriots with Tom Brady, not the backup quarterback. If I beat the Kansas City Chiefs, I want to beat him with Mahomes, healthy, Taylor Swift in the crowd. I want to see Tad Tay face. You want to beat the best. You want to know you're the best. Not that you politically wrangled your way into a championship. That's my thoughts. We'll be right back. Welcome back into the Clay Edwards Show. This segment, last long segment of the show today, is going to be brought to you by our friends over at Guns and Gear. Be sure to get over there, check out Hunter and the team today for all of your gun, ammo, and accessory purchasing needs. Don't forget they buy guns. Why go to a pawn shop when you can go to Guns and Gear? Deal with gun people you're gonna be better off. Just at the end of the day, hey, look, they're more than just a gun shop. They can take care of all your gunsmithing and Cerakoting needs as well. And just like I mentioned earlier, you're supporting one of us, one of your own, when you support Guns and Gear and these great sponsors here at WYAB. I ain't speaking for everybody, but I know Hunter, and I can tell you, you're supporting one of your own, and that just means a little more to me. So get out there, Highway 51 North, Gluckstadt, Mississippi, right there at Yandell Road. If you're heading north, it's right there on the right. If you get up to Southeastern Power Sports, you went too far. Say hey to them, turn around, get back to Guns and Gear, and take care of all your firearm needs. Shop them online, gunsandgearms.com, and follow them on Facebook for the Guns and Gear Deal of the Day. While they're still allowed to have a Facebook page, go and check them out. All right. This is the Clay Edwards Show. Man, I really, truly appreciate that interview. It's got me fired up. I know this ain't a sports show, but that's bigger than sports. That's government punishing a child for being too good. That's some hater drinking some haterade punishing one of our best and brightest. What an archaic rule. To not want Mississippi's best and brightest to compete on a national stage? Tate Reeves. I know that people that work for Tate Reeves' office listen to this show. Tate Reeves. What are we doing? Fred Shanks. What are we doing? Pull whatever chain y'all got to pull. This is an abomination. That may be the first time I've used that word on this show. This is an abomination of what high school athletics is supposed to be. It's the last pure thing in sports right now is high school athletics. I ain't saying some don't get paid, but generally speaking, it's the last of the Mohicans. There ain't no NIL money. There ain't any of that. And I'm going to tell you what really assaulted my sensibilities is a story about the Callaway basketball. It was a year they'd won the state championship. They got invited to go play in one of their big classic tournaments in Madison Square Garden. And the MHSAA said, if you do it, we will take your championship. What is wrong with these people? Now, if I'd had a radio show then, I would have been just if not more upset because it was something affecting Jackson negatively. This just happens to be the thing today, track and field. It's ridiculous. I appreciate all your calls and all your texts on the Guns and Gear text line, supporting them, by the way. Good stuff. Let me see here. Guns and Gear text line says, okay, so let's shift gears. Speaking of high school and stuff like that, let's shift gears to this tragedy that happened at Northwest Rankin is having a bad week, y'all. I'm not saying this to sound facetious or anything. That part of Rankin County in the last week had a 14-year-old student kill her mother, who was a 10th grade math teacher there. I know we talked about this some yesterday, but there's been some developments in this story. A 14-year-old student at the middle school, a football player by the name of Cameron Crook, I think it's the last name, got picked up by two of his buddies. So the truth is starting to trickle out some. We're going to still say innocent until proven guilty. I don't want to use the word allegedly at the end of every sentence here. I'm just going to put that out on the front end. They're being accused of picking up their friend. Cameron and taking him to Jackson and murdering him. So it was, from the best I can tell, planned. So sad. It was planned. Don't know what it was about. Here's a story over at darkhorsepressnow.com. 2 Rankin County teens charged with the murder of a 14-year-old in Jackson. So they pick up young Cameron. They take him to Jackson, kill him. Not sure what all of the moving parts are, what was involved. None of that matters, frankly. Was it over a girl? Was it over, some petty drug nonsense? Was it over some perceived slight or disrespect? It doesn't matter. They picked this kid up. I'm hearing from multiple sources, this hasn't been reported yet, but he was shot 17 times. 17 to 20 times they shot this kid. The identities of the two suspects have been released. They're both juveniles. See, it's awfully funny to me. Sometimes they'll release juveniles information. Sometimes they won't. Just a couple weeks ago, last month, 2 young black kids got killed by another black kid in Brandon. They never released the identity of the shooter, and they played the he's a juvenile game. Well, these 2 juveniles, one white, one black, and the victim was, in fact, a black kid, by the way. I wasn't sure of that yesterday with the name Cameron. Sorry, stereotypes happen. Cameron sounds like a very white name. The 2 kids who have been charged, the white kid is Max Mooney. He's 16 years old. Black kid's name is John Foote. He's 17. They have been charged with murder. They were picked up. I'm guessing they were picked up in Pearl. It says a Rankin County Sheriff's Office and the Pearl Police Department assisted in the arrest of these 2 teenagers. I don't know any other details. I don't know if they've been charged in Jackson. Just a lot of, because I don't know if they're in Hinds County or if they're out in Rankin County. I don't guess it really matters. I mean, if you're in jail, you would probably rather be in the Rankin County jail than you would the Hinds County jail. At least I know I would, just from a personal safety standpoint. It's a bad deal. You got a lot of, I don't know where these 2 kids went to school. Somebody told me that they all met in one of those schools for disruptive kids. So I don't know. I don't know, were these 2 Northwest Rankin students? Were they Pearl students? Were they Brandon students? I haven't pieced that puzzle all together yet. But this goes back to something we've been talking about a long time on this show. The value for human life from this younger generation appears to not be there. It really does. I don't know if it's, I don't want to be like the blame it on video games guy. I like video games. I don't play. I don't get no problem with video games. But you do have to start to wonder if these first-player video games, with a lot of killing going on, has really, in the realistic graphics. I know I sound like an old man shaking my fist at the sky right now, talking about get off my lawn. But you just got to wonder where the lack of value for human life with this generation, what caused it to dwindle down to what it is. I don't know. Prayers for the family. The mother of the victim reached out to me last night. Actually, a lady that I used to know from my nightclub days back in the day. Prayers for her. Looks like I know the father of one of the kids that did the shooting. I mean, I don't know him, but I know who he is. Bad deal all around. A lot of lives lost to death and to jail over the last week out there in Rankin County. And it happens in Jackson all the time, too. It happens around the country. You know the old thing, you lose one to the grave, you lose the other to the jail. Either way, they're both lost. Have a talk to your kids. Have a talk with your kids. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back. As we get ready to land the plane here, we got about less than a minute. Hey, guys, I got all new hats in, all new FAFO hats. I got black and white, gray and white, and camo. Order anything on the website today. Hats, shirts, flags. Buy one item at full price. Get the next item for 25% off. Go to buyfafo.com, buyfafo.com. Be sure to go hit up Martin's for lunch in downtown, Burgers, Blues, Barbecue for lunch in Madison, Flowwood at Dogwood, and downtown Brandon. Check them out online, burgersblues.com. Podcast will be available shortly. See y'all tomorrow with Sean Yurtkaran.